Welcome and a very good afternoon to all of you. You're watching Midday News. My name is Aditi Nagpal Girotra. Let's begin the bulletin with the headlines. At bilateral meeting with US President Trump, Prime Minister Modi shares concerns on terrorism in the context of Jammu and Kashmir. Trump emphasizes need for dialogue between India and Pakistan. Also says India-US trade deal very soon. Prime Minister Modi pays tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at the UN, inaugurates Solar Park and Shanti Park ahead of the 150th birth anniversary of Gandhi. Thanks UN for issuing a special commemorative stamp. Prime Minister receives Goalkeepers Global Goals Award for Swachh Bharat program by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in New York. PM calls it an honor for crores of Indians who made Swachh Bharat a part of their daily lives. India thwarts another attempt by Pakistan to internationalize Kashmir issue at the Eurasian Conference in Kazakhstan capital. Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman Harivansh says Pakistan, a known exporter of terrorists, is trying to hijack the meeting agenda. Coast Guard offshore patrol vessel Varaha commissioned by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says state-of-the-art vessel to be a force multiplier for Indian Coast Guard, asserts security forces fully prepared to meet any situation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met US President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly session in New York on Tuesday. Both leaders discussed various bilateral issues. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that relation between India and America has improved tremendously.
दुनिया का सबसे पुराना लोकतंत्र और दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतंत्र, इसके बीच इस प्रकार की निकटता, सहजता और लगातार एंगेजमेंट ये लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों में विश्वास करने वाले विश्व के लिए एक बहुत ही शुभ संकेत है। भारत, अमेरिका बहुत ही घनिष्ठ मित्र हैं और मूल्यों के आधार पर हमारी मित्रता हमेशा आगे बढ़ती चली जा रही है।
Prime Minister Modi said as far as trade is concerned, he is very happy that in Houston, in his presence, there was an agreement signed by Indian company Petronet for $2.5 billion, which is the amount of investment the Indian company is going to do in the energy sector. He added that this will result in trade of an amount of $60 billion and create 50,000 jobs.
जहां तक ट्रेड का सवाल है, मुझे खुशी है कि मैं जब परसों ह्यूस्टन में था तो हमारे पेट्रोनेट ने वहां पर $2.5 बिलियन के इन्वेस्टमेंट के साथ एनर्जी सेक्टर में इन्वेस्टमेंट का एमओयू किया है और उसका परिणाम ये होगा कि आने वाले कुछ दशक में करीब $60 बिलियन का ट्रेड और करीब 50,000 लोगों के लिए जॉब, तो अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा इनिशिएटिव भारत ने लिया है।
During the meet, Prime Minister Modi made it clear to the US President Donald Trump that India wants certain concrete steps from Pakistan before resumption of talks. US President Trump hoped that the two neighbors can work out something on the Kashmir issue and further added that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is capable of tackling radical Islamic terrorism originating from Pakistan.
The message is not for me to give, it's for Prime Minister Modi to give, and I think he gave that loud and clear on the other day when we were together. He gave a pretty loud message, and I'm sure he'll be able to handle that situation. Yes, sir.
The two countries are negotiating a trade package to iron out bilateral trade issues and promote the two-way commerce. However, India and the US have made significant progress on a number of trade-related issues, and both the countries are optimistic of reaching a kind of trade agreement in the near future. US President Donald Trump said his country will soon have a trade deal with India. However, no timeline was given by either side regarding finalization of the deal.
Very soon. We're doing very well, and Bob Lighthizer, who's right here, was negotiating with India, and they're very capable representatives. And I think very soon we'll have a trade deal. We'll have the larger deal down the road a little bit, but we will have a trade deal very soon.
Soon after the bilateral meet, Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale addressed the media in New York. Vijay Gokhale said that there was no discussion on timeline, but New Delhi is optimistic that it will be able to conclude an understanding or an agreement fairly soon. He added that India and the US have made significant progress in terms of growing trade in the last 3-4 years and has managed to reduce trade deficit. There are expectations of announcement of a trade deal or package during the Prime Minister's visit.
Prime Minister also explained that we have never shied away from talking to Pakistan. However, we expect that overtures that Prime Minister has made over the years ought to have been reciprocated, and none of them have been reciprocated, beginning with Prime Minister's invitation at the oath-taking ceremony, and then, as Prime Minister said, his unique and trip to Lahore in December 2015 with minimum security. And Prime Minister explained to President Trump that immediately after that, there has been an attack on the Pathankot airbase, and that the perpetrators of the crime have not been called to justice. So there was a discussion on the impact that terrorism has on communities, has globally, and Prime Minister and President Trump felt that we must both come together to fight terrorism.
On Kashmir, President Trump reiterated his hope that India and Pakistan will resolve the issue soon. Speaking out about Pakistan's sponsored terrorism, he said, Prime Minister Modi has given loud and clear message to Pakistan.
The two leaders therefore felt that they were optimistic in terms of us reaching some kind of a trade agreement in the near future. And discussions will continue in this regard. The Prime Minister did repeatedly say that India has taken a number of steps, including most recently during his visit to Houston, where Indian companies are also investing in the United States. And therefore, it is a symbiotic relationship, one that involves give and take.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at an event at the United Nations to commemorate Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the Gandhi Solar Park at the UN headquarters in New York. The Gandhi Peace Garden at the State University of New York campus was also inaugurated. He also released a commemorative stamp issued by the UN on the occasion. Sharing his thoughts on Mahatma Gandhi at the event, relevance of Mahatma Gandhi in the contemporary world, Prime Minister said that whether it's climate change or terrorism or corruption, Gandhiji's ideals are the guiding light for us when it comes to protecting humanity. Prime Minister said that Mahatma Gandhi showed democracy means self-independence and not dependence on the government.
चाहे क्लाइमेट चेंज हो या फिर आतंकवाद, भ्रष्टाचार हो या फिर स्वार्थपरक सामाजिक जीवन, गांधी जी के ये सिद्धांत हमें मानवता की रक्षा करने के लिए मार्गदर्शक की तरह काम करते हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि गांधी जी का दिखाया ये रास्ता बेहतर विश्व के निर्माण में प्रेरक सिद्ध होगा।
Addressing the event, Prime Minister Modi said the platform was a living example that Gandhi was from India but did not belong only to India. Even those who had never met Gandhiji were deeply influenced by his life and vision, including world leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. or Nelson Mandela. He said that while we are living in an era of how to impress, Gandhiji's vision was how to inspire.
जिनसे गांधी जी कभी मिले नहीं, वो भी उनके जीवन से कितना प्रभावित रहे। मार्टिन ल्यूथर किंग जूनियर हो या नेल्सन मंडेला, उनके विचारों का आधार महात्मा गांधी थे।
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres asserted that Mahatma Gandhi was the greatest leader of all times and said that his ideas drive the work of UN. He said Gandhi's teachings remain fresh and thought-provoking, including his emphasis on the importance of facing up to the truth with courage.
It is a great pleasure and a great honor to be here to mark the 150th anniversary of the birth of Mahatma Gandhi, one of the giants of the 20th century, a global icon of peace and an advocate for the most vulnerable. Gandhiji's vision and philosophy are pillars of the work of the United Nations. Part of his genius lay in his ability to see the interconnectedness and the unity between all things.
Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Bhutanese Prime Minister Lotse Tshering, South Korean President Moon Jae-in, Prime Minister of Singapore Lee Hsien Loong, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Michael Holness and Prime Minister of New Zealand Jacinda Ardern were present on the occasion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred the Global Goalkeeper Award by the Bill Melinda Gates Foundation. The award was given for the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan launched by his government. Prime Minister Modi dedicated the award to those Indians who transformed the Swachh Bharat campaign into people's movement. He said over 11 crore toilets were built in the country in the last 5 years, which was a record. He said the poor people and the women were benefited by the most. He said the campaign has not only improved the lives of crores of Indians, but it has also played a significant role in achieving the goals set by the UN. Modi said he has told that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation had reported that with better rural sanitation, there was a decline in heart problems among children and improvement in the body mass index among women. He also expressed happiness that Gandhi's dream of cleanliness was about to be fulfilled. The cleanliness campaign was launched by the Modi government during its first term on 2nd October 2014.
मेरे लिए मायने रखता है 130 करोड़ भारतीयों का हर वो प्रयास जो उन्होंने स्वच्छ भारत के लिए किया है और इसलिए मैं ये सम्मान उन भारतीयों को समर्पित करता हूं जिन्होंने स्वच्छ भारत मिशन को एक जन आंदोलन में बदला, जिन्होंने स्वच्छता को अपनी दैनिक जिंदगी में सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता देनी शुरू की.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with leaders of the Pacific Island countries on the sidelines of the 74th United Nations General Assembly session in New York on Wednesday. This was the first time the Prime Minister met leaders of the Pacific Islands developing states in a plurilateral format. Prime Minister Modi emphasized that India and the PSIDS had shared values and a shared future and highlighted the need for development policies to be inclusive and sustainable. He said India was equally committed to tackle the impact of climate change and supported the efforts of the PSIDS to achieve their developmental goals. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced allocation of $12 million grant towards implementation of high-impact developmental projects in the area of their choice. A concessional line of credit of $150 million for undertaking solar, renewable energy and climate-related projects based on each country's requirement was also announced.
सभी पीसीएस देशों के साथ भारत के मैत्रीपूर्ण संबंध है. हम एक दूसरे के विकास में महत्वपूर्ण साझेदार हैं. भारत इन देशों के बीच 2 समिट मीटिंग्स आयोजित हो चुकी हैं. इस मुलाकात के जरिए हम अपनी पार्टनरशिप को और बढ़ाने पर चर्चा करेंगे. मैं यहां उपस्थित सभी देशों के माननीय नेताओं और डेलीगेशंस का हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं. यह मीटिंग आयोजित करने का प्रस्ताव स्वीकार करने के लिए मैं उन्हें धन्यवाद भी देता हूं.
Addressing the United Nations General Assembly session, US President Donald Trump said that energy security is the biggest challenge facing the world. He exhorted the global leaders to join the US in further pressure for Iran to give up its nuclear program and stop attacks that are rattling the Middle East. The president implored the world's leaders to prioritize their own nations, stressing the benefits of strong borders and one-on-one trade deals while rejecting sweeping transnational organizations and alliances. He also warned China over its handling of the Hong Kong crisis. He also targeted China over the trade war, declaring that the time of Beijing's abuses of the system was over, arguing that globalism had caused world leaders to ignore their own national interests.
The World Trade Organization needs drastic change. The second largest economy in the world should not be permitted to declare itself a developing country in order to game the system at others' expense. For years, these abuses were tolerated, ignored, or even encouraged. Globalism exerted a religious pull over past leaders, causing them to ignore their own national interests. But as far as America is concerned, those days are over.
With this, we'll halt in for a quick break on Midday News, but we'll be back soon. Stay tuned with us.
Post-abrogation of Article 370, Indian Army's recruitment rally in Jammu and Kashmir. Hundreds of youths in this area came out to participate in the Army recruitment rally. Years of armed conflict giving way to dreams and aspirations. RSTV reports from Mendhar sector of Poonch in Jammu and Kashmir. Watch our ground report on Army recruitment rally in Jammu and Kashmir.
Welcome back. You're still with us on Midday News. Going forward with the news, India has once again thwarted Pakistan's attempts to raise Kashmir issue at an international forum. Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman Harivansh gave a strong response to Pakistan's attempt to raise the Kashmir issue at the Eurasian Speakers Meet at Nur Sultan in Kazakhstan. He said that Pakistan is a known exporter of terrorists and epicenter of terrorism. Terming Pakistan's remarks very irresponsible, Harivansh said Pakistan was trying to hijack the meeting agenda by raising the issue, which was an internal matter of India. He said Pakistan has illegally occupied our part of Jammu and Kashmir. The Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman said state-sponsored terrorism and cross-border terrorism have today become a threat not only to India but to the entire humanity.
To make some comments about the very irresponsible statement made by Pakistani counterpart. I'm constrained to raise this because we feel that they have tried to hijack this meeting and raise issues which are not only totally unrelated to the subject matter of this forum, but are absolutely internal matters of ours. Ironically, Pakistan has no authority, moral or otherwise, to dwell on Jammu and Kashmir, which is an integral part of India. I did not want to say this, but since my Pakistani counterpart has been insistent, the entire world knows that it is Pakistan that has illegally occupied our part of Jammu and Kashmir, and they have finished the identity and self-respect of local people there. Terrorism is an international concern and biggest threat to humanity today. State-sponsored terrorism and cross-border terrorism have today become a threat not only to India but to the entire humanity. What is most ironical and strange, Excellency, is that this issue is being raised by a country which is known exporter of terrorists and is the epicenter of terrorism for the entire world.
Speaking at the fourth meeting of speakers of the Eurasian countries' parliaments, Harivansh said that India attaches a great deal of importance to our relations with the countries of Eurasian region. He stressed on the need to address urgently and jointly unavoidable challenges such as terrorism, conflicts, climate change, sustainable development, energy security, gender equality and connectivity.
Our development actions are guided by the philosophy Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, which means inclusive growth. Our Prime Minister, His Excellency Shri Narendra Modi ji's nationwide multi-sectoral initiative, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Save the Girl Child, Educate Her has been conceived to tackle the issue of child sex ratio and education of girls. Awareness, raising and advocacy and mindset change are pivotal elements of this campaign. Parliament as a supreme representative body guides the national agenda for development and governance.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh formally commissioned the Coast Guard offshore patrol vessel Varaha at the Chennai Port Trust today. The Defence Minister said the state-of-the-art ship was going to be a force multiplier for Indian Coast Guard. He also pointed out it has capabilities to operate twin-engine ALH helicopters developed indigenously by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The new ship has a state-of-art electronics, technical and navigation equipment. The ship is also capable of carrying limited pollution response equipment to contain oil spill at sea. Responding to a query on Army Chief General Bipin Rawat's statement on reactivation of terror camps in Balakot in neighbouring Pakistan, the Defence Minister said that Indian security forces were fully prepared to meet the situation.
को डिफीट देने की ताकत हमारे फोर्स के जवानों में है, चाहे वो हमारी चाहे वो आर्मी हो, नेवल हो अथवा चाहे हमारी एयर फोर्स हो. Don't worry, our force is fully prepared.
Army has removed 130 tons of solid waste from the Sichuan glacier as part of Swachh Bharat mission. The drive started around 1.5 years back to protect the ecosystem of the world's most dangerous battlefield. The total volume of waste generated at the glacier is 236 tons. The Sichuan glacier, at the height of around 12,000 feet in Karakoram range, is known as the highest militarized zone in the world, where winter temperatures can drop to as low as minus 60 degrees Celsius. 30 people died and over 370 were injured after an earthquake measuring 5.8 on the Richter scale hit Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Mirpur on Tuesday evening. The epicenter of the earthquake was 140 kilometers from Srinagar. Tremors of the earthquake were felt in Delhi, NCR, Chandigarh, Kashmir, parts of Himachal, as well as several towns in Pakistan, including Islamabad, Lahore, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa range. Indian women's cricket team beat South Africa by 11 runs in the first 2020 international at Surat on Tuesday. Asked to bat, the Indian middle order struggled to convert starts on a slow pitch, settling for a modest 130 for 8. Skipper Harmanpreet Kaur top scored for the side with a 34-ball 43, the innings containing 3 fours and 2 sixes as the other colleagues found the going tough. In response, the visitors were bowled out for 119 with 1 ball left. Mignon du Preez was the top scorer with an attacking knock of 59 runs. Spinner Deepti Sharma bowled 3 maiden overs in her 4-over quota, apart from taking 3 wickets. Left-arm spinner Radha Yadav, leg break bowler Poonam Yadav and pacer Shikha Pandey took 2 wickets each. 15-year-old Shefali Verma became the youngest women player to play 2020 international for India as she played her first 2020 against South Africa on Tuesday in Surat. Nation pays homage to Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay on his birth anniversary today. Deen Dayal Upadhyay was a thinker of RSS ideology and former leader of Bharatiya Jana Sangh, the forerunner of Bharatiya Janata Party. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also paid tribute to Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay. He described Upadhyay as a visionary, a great intellectual and an inspiring personality who worked relentlessly for the upliftment of people at the grassroots level. PM Modi also paid tribute to Deen Dayal Upadhyay and said Upadhyay is one of the greatest icons of India. Of his speech on Deen Dayal Upadhyay in Vic, the Prime Minister also posted a video where he described how upliftment of the poor was the focus of Upadhyay's philosophy.
पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय जी की जन्म जयंती का आज अवसर है। अगर कोई भी पंडित जी की बात करेगा तो सबसे पहले सादगी की छवि उभर करके आती है। पंडित जी के पूरे चिंतन में गरीब उनके केंद्र बिंदु में था। उनका आग्रह रहता था कि भारत की जड़ों से जुड़ी हुई राजनीति ही, भारत की जड़ों से जुड़ी हुई अर्थनीति ही, भारत की जड़ों से जुड़ी हुई समाज नीति ही भारत के भाग्य को बदलने का सर्वाधिक सामर्थ्य रखती हुई है।
And with this, it's a wrap on this edition of Midday News. Thank you so much for your time.